Wealth Warriors! How is everybody doing this morning? Are you ready for today's show? I hope that you are. This morning, we are talking about using your credit. Using your credit to secure real estate. It is all about the real estate, real estate, real estate, real estate. And I am, now when it comes to talking about real estate, believe you me, it is one of my favorite topics, which is why you will often hear me discussing that as it relates to you being able to not only create wealth, you leave the legacy. And I know more often than not, oh my goodness, it is definitely one of those situations in which you say, Brent, are you ever gonna stop talking about real estate? No, but I'll talk about other things too. Great morning, Nelly Nasario. Great morning, Pamela Stone. How are ya? Woo! Okay, I am just having fun. So let me share with you what is going to be happening on today's broadcast. First segment, we're going to be talking about what's your credit score. And you know, my mantra is you will never have as much credit, as much money as you will have when you have credit. When you access credit, credit will become king. You can never have as much money, cash dollars, as you will have credit when you do it right. You will have power. So, with that being said, great morning to you. And again, we're going to talk about what's your credit score, acknowledgments, how do you use your credit to access real estate. I'm going to give you some announcements and what are economists saying relative to your credit. And then we're going to call it a wrap. So let's get this party started. And again, I am saying great morning. First people on the broadcast, Pamela Stone. Good morning, good morning. Nelly Rosario. Again, great morning to you. What's your credit score? At one time, great credit started at a score called 680. It has changed tremendously. So let's roll it back a little bit and talk about that score and what that score means. That score was produced by two gentlemen, and those gentlemen came together and it became something called Fair Isaac. And that was about your credit scoring. The interesting thing, and I think probably the most fascinating thing for me, is this was a private company that had inserted itself back in the 40s into the public arena and grew up and now is considered an authority. Actually, it was considered an authority back in the 1980s. But this company was private and now is a quasi-governmental agency, still private, but quasi, in that the relationship that they have with the Fed is such that this score can run your life. There are three companies that make up this scoring system that you've heard about. More often than not, people are very familiar with Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And these three scores together can govern your existence. And so those organizations that come together that sound like an agency are the ones that make determinations on your scoring system. It is, in my mind, so important. Credit essentially is like cash in that it spends the same way, has to be paid back, but it spends the same way. And yet we know so little about credit and how to work the credit, what to do to resolve the credit issues, and we end up turning that part of our lives over to somebody else. We go to a credit repair agency to help us get our credit resolved. We really do not know anything about the law. Let me rephrase that. I know that there are people that do, what I'm sharing with you is, for the most part, people do not know or understand, and we relinquish our power. No more. We need to take that power back. So, one of the very first things I'm going to share with you is to get a copy of the Fair Credit Reporting Act, FCRA. Get that booklet and read that booklet over. In November, we are going to be dealing with credit. Why? Because November and December are the best times to negotiate with credit companies, with anybody that extends credit. That is an awesome time for you. If you owe money, it's an awesome time to negotiate and have information removed from your credit report. Now, I'll admit, this is not what credit companies want to hear. They do not want to hear me sharing with you how to negotiate, how to resolve. However, if you are going to use credit to purchase, then we need to pump up the score, because now what's happened is, good, instead of being a 680, you've got to hit the 700s just to be good, just to get the word good attributed to your credit score. So the highest score that you can have is 900. Some say 8, so we'll go with 8 for the sake of argument. Uh, However, 700 just gets you the word good. 800 gets you excellent. What does the average person have? And I hate to use the word average because none of us are average. I don't accept that. What does the general public have? Probably about a 650. Why? Primarily because we may have credit accounts that are continuously being paid. However, we do not understand how the structure is set up so that we can make the effective use of those accounts. For example, is your account, if you have a $2,000 line of credit, are you at the 1,000 mark? That means 50% of the line is gone, 50% of the line is used. You got to get that thing down. Those elements affect your credit score. Come Monday, I'm gonna be down there making sure that I pay down on that credit. So that is part and parcel. It's just that we do not know how to maneuver it so that it works to our advantage. But here's the deal. What is your score? It is important for today to be your baseline. You want to get copies of your credit reports. You can get free copies. However, generally I found that the free copies are not giving you the actual score. They will tell you about the accounts, but they're not giving you the score. You need to know what the score is, what makes up the score. But the most important thing is, what is your score? Are you in the 700s on all 3 reports? That's going to be very important. And if you're not, if 2 are up and 1 is down, why? Because that score is going to mean the difference between you accessing the credit that you need so that you can actually use your credit to buy real estate. I'm just saying, we're putting the power back in your hand. Instead of us giving our power away and giving our money here, here, and here, it's coming back in your hands. So the most important thing right now for you to be cognizant of, what is your score? And understand that the base now is 700, and the base only gets you a good, only gets you 1 star. You need to get up to 4 stars, only get you 1. With that being said, let's give some acknowledgments. Who's with us this morning? Rabbi Abukar across the pond. I saw her check mark this morning. She said hi. Hello. I saw Sharon Nix. Great morning from up north. Is there snow in up in your neck of the woods, Sharon? Oh, there was snow. There was snow in Boston. Mark Wahlberg was here doing a movie, and so they had snow in Boston. Fortunately, they could shovel it away. Joyce Swinson, thank you for putting up the good morning. That was terrific. Regina, hi, good morning. Regina Jones Jenkins, RJJ. Tulasaurus, good morning. And of course, you know Pamela Stone and Nellie Rosario are with us as well. So I want to give the acknowledgments. Thank you for getting up with me this morning. It is a pleasure to see you, to see your name. When I see your name, I see you. My mind goes back and I remember what you look like. With that being said, segment two, how do you use your credit to purchase real estate? You're using your cards. Yeah, we're using our credit cards as down payment to secure our position on that property. So typically that $5,000 that you will be paying or you're using as a down payment. And I use the $5,000 mark because generally what will happen is when you are purchasing, when you're going to an auction, generally it's going to be 5 grand that you're going to use to secure that property that you want to bid on. In fact, oftentimes to come into the bid, you actually have to have $5,000, anywhere from 2 to 5, but 5,000 is generally the mark. So you are doing an OPM. You are using other people's money, that card. Now, here's the thing that you've got to be mindful of. You got to be prepared. That means you have to already have the pre-approvals. So you're going to need to talk to somebody, whether it's hard money or soft money, whether it's lending institution. Now, did you hear those 3 words? Hard money, soft money, lending institutions. In other words, who is going to lend you the money that you need to acquire that piece of property? So we've talked about being part of a real estate investment group. We've talked about purchasing ourselves. We're going to be talking about, as we close out the month of October, we'll be talking about the types of property and the environments in which you are going to actually purchase. So for the moment right now, what I am talking about is using that credit to secure your position to purchase the property. See, if you're going to an auction, you've got to secure it in order to then go on and say, hey, I'm in the running, or I'm able to bid for that property. Because when you are actually at an auction, and notice I'm talking about auctions right now, when you are actually at an auction, you're registering, you've got to register and you've got to have 5 grand, anywhere from 2 to 5 grand. You've got to have that in order to come into and to be a part of the auction. You got to have the money. So it could be an auction. You could be working directly with a realtor, and that money is use and lose. Use and lose money. So you've got to do the background work before you go in and use your credit. There used to be a group of guys, there were about 5 of them, and they were called the credit card kings because when they went to an auction and they worked together, 5 of them, each had a card, and they rotated the cards, and they would put that card on the line. They had already had the security of a lender that they were doing business with, which, by the way, leads me to say something to you. Create relationships. So, for example, Kelly McGovern is one of our is part of our Wealth Warrior community. You ought to be calling Kelly or check and see who is a mortgage broker in our community, because you want to have a relationship with them so that when you get ready to go and do a transaction, you can do that. Because I don't know about you, but $5,000 still means something to me. How about you? Do you want to lose it? I recently lost that. Do you know how ticked off I am about that? I still can barely talk about that. On that note, I need to take a sip of tea. Oh, that is good tea. I love sweet hot tea. Besides, I have a cold, and so that's just going to coat the throat so I can yell some more. With that being said, in all seriousness, You do not want to be about the business of losing money. And it is possible. So it's imperative that you have somebody that you're working with that knows about your financials, that knows about how you maneuver your money, that understands that you are now an investor. Notice that you are an investor. Hashtag. In fact, you know what? Let me put that in the feed because I feel that strongly about that. That hashtag, I am an investor. I had just put that in there. Bingo. You are an investor. And when you are an investor, you have to get clear. You're going to be moving with speed. You're seizing opportunities. You may be a starting investor. However, the point is you are an investor. And so as the investor, you need to know that your finances are set so that when you use your personal credit to acquire property or to acquire the position to be able to purchase, you know that you got backup, that you're going to be able to close. Because I'll tell you what, typically when it comes to auction property, you've got to close in 30 days. And sometimes you're sweating bullets. I know when one of my investors would come in and he or she has to close in 30 days, I was sweating bullets because it needs to move with agility and speed. So at this moment, we're still in the peak. We have done the crossroads. You know how we talk about the crossroads of the bell curve, but there's still peak out there. And while there is still peak out there, you want to be positioned to purchase. Now, you want to be positioned. That doesn't mean you necessarily have to buy, but there are still opportunities for you right now to invest and make a good deal. To invest and make a good deal. So, with that being said, you can use your credit. In fact, when you go to an investment group meeting and you're sitting and you're listening power, you're listening to whoever has secured a position who may want to sell the position, they're asking you, do you have a credit card? Because generally, the thought process is if you've got credit cards, then one, you understand how to use other people's money. Two, you've likely done the background work so that you can move in and grab hold of that deal. And three, you can close in the appropriate time. So remember, when I talk about cash and cash is king, credit takes a front seat, jumps in front of. So the credit becomes the king and the cash is the prince. They work hand in hand. So what you want to do is be positioned with the strong credit score, have the credit cards that you can utilize. And here's something that I want you to get real clear on. You can ask for an increase. If you've got the right credit score, you can ask for an increase in your line of credit. If you've had that card for at least 6 months and you are paying that perpetually, you can ask for what you want. You can ask for an increase. And in many instances, you'll get an instant increase. It is better to have 3 credit cards that equal $15,000 in credit than to have 5 credit cards that equal the 15,000. Because the larger the line, the more powerful you are. Now, you've got to have those cards for at least 6 months, payment history, keep the cards low. In fact, your line really should be no more than about 20 to 30% of whatever that is. So if you've got a $2,000 line of credit, no more than 20 to 30% should be outstanding. Why? Because the lower it is, the more uh, you are seen as somebody that knows how to control and modulate your credit. I'm just saying, if you want to use credit to get that property, and we've got to start understanding to utilize somebody else's stuff, somebody else's money, OPM it Just be cognizant when you OPM it, you've got to know when that has to be paid back. You've got to be clear about the interest rate, because our interest rate on our credit cards is no joke. So clarity on the interest rate, clarity on when you have to close. That's when you are using that phone and you are putting dates in that phone for everything. When does this do? What does that do? And you always give yourself 48 hours. So if it's due on the 10th, it needs to be paid on the morning of the 8th. Always give yourself 48 whole hours so that if there's any processing that needs to go on, you are squared away. As one would say, I'm just saying. With that being said, let's make some announcements. October 24th, I will be speaking at the Small Biz Buffet that is hosted by Rogeria Toussaint of Urban Niche. Also, myself, Brent S. Harding Company, and there is a third party. You are able to go up to Eventbrite right now and get yourself a complimentary ticket. That's going to be on October 24th. It'll be in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Now, all the announcements that I have are for the state of Massachusetts. There isn't anything that says that you can't come on in. By the way, they will have a complimentary buffet. So how about that? I will be talking about the topic of self-awareness. How aware are we about ourselves as it relates to the people that we're communicating with? So that's on October 24th. On November 13th, the Great Stuff Mix and Mingle 2018 will be hosted by myself, Brent Harding, and Wilbur Brown of TRS. It's going to be held at the Freedom House in Roxbury, Massachusetts. That's at 5 Crawford Street in Roxbury. It starts at 6:30 p.m. and I am psyched. Tickets will be available today, 30 days in advance. They will be available today at on Eventbrite. The tickets are $10. And we've got some fun that's going to be happening, by the way, at that event. In particular, you will have an opportunity to get points that will be used to obtain gifts and prizes at the event. When you bring a guest, or when you cause a guest to come to the event, and they are from a particular industry or a particular company, or they are a decision maker, you're going to get some points. Why are we doing that? We are doing that so we have an awesome mix and mingle with people that we will be able to do business with either today or in the future. So this is especially geared for entrepreneurs, small business owners, and related services, so that we can go into 2019 with profitability on our books. And then November 17th, Saturday, November 17th, is the changeover date for the Wealth Warrior broadcast. I'll be sharing more details with you about that the first week of November. So you want to mark your calendar for October 24th. That is the Small Biz Buffet. That is going to be held in Cambridge, Massachusetts from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's sponsored by Rogeria Toussaint and Brent Harding, and I will be the speaker for that evening. November 13th, which is a Tuesday, November 13th, the Great Stuff Mix and Mingle 2018, the first one, will be hosted by myself and Wilbur Brown from TRS. That's going to be held at the Freedom House in Roxbury. And then November 17th, Saturday, November 17th, is the changeover for the Wealth Warrior broadcast. Made it through it. Wow. So, what are economists saying about credit? Economists are saying get those balances down. We are spending far too much money on interest payments. People are paying anywhere from 9 to 24% on the money that they're borrowing. And that then becomes foolishness. That then becomes foolish money spent. That is a waste. That's like parking tickets. There's just something that is wrong with the parking tickets. Yes, in some instances in New York, it'll cost you $40 to park, $50 if you get a ticket, and a ticket builds interest. What's wrong with that picture? We've got to start to really embrace where the dollars are going. For example, your insurance, your car insurance. I just made a changeover and dropped $70 on my car, my monthly payment. $70 difference. Why? Because I finally got off my duff and said, this is it, I'm done. I'm not paying this extra money when there are other places out there. Get ready to do that with my phone because we need to stop giving away our money. And we give away our money because it becomes such a hassle to go to fix and resolve the problem. Need to start resolving the problem because it's costing us too much money. I am happy to pay $70 less. How about you? So economists are saying essentially what a gentleman back in the day said, he would say to me, he said, Brent, handle your business. And so to that end, it is time for us to handle our business, as inconvenient as our business can be. That's what economists are saying, or economist and Brent Harding is saying. So credit, they are really pressing for people to start paying down and paying off your credit. That does not mean close the line. When we close the line, that actually damages the credit score. We'll talk about that in November, but that actually damages the credit score. So we do not want to close it out completely. We want to just pay it down and pay it at least under 20% so that whatever we have outstanding is no more than 20% of the entire line of credit. Wow, how'd we do? So let's take a quick review. Today we're talking about using credit to secure real estate. Or today we talked about using credit to secure real estate. What's your credit score? We know now that in order to hit the good button, in order to get to the first star, we actually have to increase and get our credit score into the 700s in order to get the first star. We talked about how do you use your credit to secure real estate. Well, we're going to use our credit cards to secure the down payment in an auction. And even if we are purchasing a piece of property, do we have a line of credit that is large enough for us to be able to secure the down payment? So we're using OPM, other people's money. When we decide to do that, we've got to take into account preparation. That means that we must work with someone that understands our game plan. We are now investors, real estate investors to be specific. Acknowledgments. Rabbi Abukar, first person, congratulations. You were the first person on the continent to reach out to us this morning. So congratulations, you're an early morning riser. Sharon Nixon, Joyce Swinson, Regina Jones Jenkins, RJJ, Tula Torres, Pamela Stone, great morning. Nelly Rosario, great morning. Prayers and well wishes go to those who live in Florida, the Panhandle, and the like. Our thoughts and our prayers go with you. We are so sorry we're watching the devastation in complete and utter horror. And so we pray for your survival and for that you get the relief that you need and know that we are with you. Once you switch gears a little bit, I know that was a little bit heavy, however, rightfully so. Join the Brent Harding YouTube channel. Our broadcasts are going to be seen there. We're uploading everything onto the channel. And so I'm encouraging you to go to the YouTube channel and join the Brent S. Harding YouTube channel. We're going to have stuff. I'm going to be doing more clips. We're going to have stuff up there that you're not going to see in the Wealth Warrior feed. So you got to join the channel. And November 17th, the format of the show changes. So you want to be cognizant of that. I'll have a video that explains those changes. And we had announcements. Mark your calendar. We want to see you October 24th at the Small Biz Buffet, November 13th at the Great Stuff Mix and Mingle 2018, and November 17th, we have a change in the format. Wow, that was a quick 30 minutes, wasn't it? With that being said, I want to say thank you very, very much for being on today's broadcast. Go out today and be amazing. And I'll see you next week.